Greetings, and welcome to a journey into the ancient woods and misty mountains of Germany. Tonight, we'll uncover stories etched into the very soul of the land, tales whispered by grandmothers in smoky cottages and sung by traveling minstrels in dim taverns. You find yourself standing on the edge of a deep, dark forest, the kind that swallows the sunlight whole even at noon. This isn't just any forest, it's the legendary German woods. A place where ancient trees with gnarled branches reach for a sky you can barely glimpse through the thick canopy. A chill wind, carrying the scent of damp earth and something indefinably old, rustles through the leaves, making the shadows dance. You might think you're alone, but in German folklore, you are never truly alone in the woods. Every rustle could be a forest spirit, every distant creak of wood a giant taking a slow step, and every glint of light through the leaves a mischievous gnome peeking from behind a mushroom. This is the heartland of German folklore, a realm woven from countless generations of oral tales, fears, and wisdom passed down through the ages. It's a world where the mundane and the magical are not separate, but two sides of the same worn coin, forever intertwined. You might chuckle, thinking of quaint fairy tales, but understand, these stories were not always for children. Oh no. Many were cautionary tales, stark warnings etched with the dark reality of a life lived close to nature's unpredictable edge. Think less, happily ever after, and more, don't wander off alone, or the Erlking might get you. The humor, when it appears, is often dry, a quick, wry comment delivered with a shrug, like a peasant observing a knight's fancy armor and thinking, "That'll be fun to clean when he falls in the mud." As you delve deeper into the mythical landscape of Germany, your path inevitably leads you to the Harz Mountains, a place shrouded in ancient mystery and notorious for its darker legends. These aren't just any mountains, they are a dramatic, rugged range, often wreathed in thick fog that rolls down the peaks like an ethereal blanket. The trees here are older, more twisted, and the silence seems to hum with untold stories. The air is always a bit colder, even in summer, carrying a scent of pine and something else, something wild and untamed that makes the hairs on your neck stand on end. You might feel a prickle of unease, but also a strange pull, as if the mountains themselves are calling to you, inviting you into their secrets. At the heart of the Harz Mountains stands the Brocken, its highest peak, a place infamous in German folklore. This isn't just a mountain, it's the legendary gathering spot for witches and dark spirits. Imagine standing at its summit on a moonless night, the wind whipping around you, carrying strange whispers that seem to morph into eerie cackles. The very air vibrates with a sinister energy, or maybe that's just the wind trying to shake your teeth loose. It's said that on the night of Walpurgis, or Walpurgisnacht, which falls on the last day of April, the Brocken truly comes alive. This isn't just a party, it's a massive, ancient convocation. Witches, goblins, and all manner of otherworldly beings are said to gather here to celebrate the coming of spring with wild dances and dark rituals. It's a bit like a family reunion, if your family consisted entirely of magical beings with questionable intentions and a penchant for turning humans into newts. You might think about attending, perhaps with a camera to capture the spectacle. But then you remember the cautionary tales. Those who stumble upon the Walpurgis night celebrations rarely return unchanged, if they return at all. Some are cursed, some are driven mad, and some simply vanish, becoming another whispered warning for foolish wanderers. The landscape itself contributes to the legends. The Harz region is filled with deep caves, mysterious rock formations, and dense, dark forests that seem to swallow sound. These natural features became backdrops for countless tales of hidden treasures, mischievous spirits, and ancient magic. You might find yourself peering into a shadowed cave entrance, half expecting to see a gnome's tiny light or the glint of a dragon's eye. Every twisted tree trunk seems to hold a face, every rustling bush a hidden observer. It's the kind of place where your imagination runs wild, and you quickly learn to trust your instincts, especially when they tell you to walk a little faster past certain ancient stones. The folklore of the Harz Mountains isn't just about witches and their wild parties, however. It also speaks of the hidden powers of the earth, of the ancient spirits that predate human memory. There are stories of miners encountering small, bearded beings deep underground who could lead them to rich veins of ore or, if angered, cause terrible collapses. These mountains have a long history of mining, so it's easy to see how the dangers and mysteries of the underground environment would birth such tales. You might even find yourself wondering if that faint glimmer of light you saw in the distance was a miner's lamp, or something far older and far more powerful that calls this dark earth home. The humor here is in the quiet understanding that while humans strive and toil, the true masters of this land are the ancient, unseen forces that have always been here, silently judging your choices. So tread carefully, friend, for in the Harz Mountains, the veil between worlds is thin, and you might just stumble upon more than you bargained for. Your journey through German folklore brings you now to the quaint, and perhaps suspiciously quiet, town of Hamelin, where a tale as old as its cobbled streets still lingers in the very air. This isn't just a simple story of pest control. It's a chilling reminder of promises made and promises broken, all set against a backdrop of cheerful medieval life turning suddenly very grim. Imagine yourself standing in the bustling town square, the sun warm on your face, the sounds of everyday life filling the air until they don't. The year is 1284, or so the legend claims, and the town of Hamelin is absolutely, unequivocally overrun by rats. And we're not talking about a few cheeky rodents scurrying in the shadows. We're talking a biblical plague of rats. They are everywhere in the larders, underfoot in the market, probably holding tiny, squeaky conventions in the town hall. You can practically hear their little claws scratching against the cobblestones, a constant, unsettling background noise to daily life. The townspeople are at their wits' end. They've tried everything: traps, cats who have probably gone on strike, possibly even shouting rude things at the rats in hopes they'd leave out of sheer offense. Nothing works. The rats are too numerous, too bold, and frankly, too comfortable. It's the kind of situation that makes you wonder if they've started paying rent, because they certainly seem to own the place. Then, one sunny morning, a strange figure appears. He's tall, thin, and dressed in a coat of many bright colors, looking rather like a confused peacock who wandered into a human town. He carries no sword, no bag of coin, just a small, wooden pipe. He introduces himself as a piper, and he claims he can rid Hamelin of its vermin problem, for a price, of course. The town council, a group of earnest but often overwhelmed gentlemen, eye him with skepticism. A pipe against an army of rats. It sounds like a bad joke, or perhaps a desperate marketing ploy. But they are desperate, so they agree to his terms: 1,000 gold pieces for the town's deliverance. A hefty sum, but a small price to pay for sanity and clean floors. The piper takes his pipe and begins to play. It's a melody unlike any you've ever heard, strange and haunting, twisting through the air like smoke. And then a truly bizarre sight unfolds. From every crack, every corner, every hidden nook, the rats emerge. Big rats, small rats, fat rats, lean rats, they all follow the piper as if drawn by an invisible string, their tiny eyes fixed on him, their whiskers twitching in hypnotic rhythm. He walks through the streets, playing his tune, and the endless stream of rats follows him straight out of town, down to the Weser River and into its depths where they drown. The town is finally, gloriously, utterly free of rats. The silence that falls over Hamelin is profound, almost unsettling after weeks of incessant squeaking. It's so quiet you can hear a mouse sneeze from 3 streets away.
Oh, wait.
The townspeople are overjoyed, ecstatic. They celebrate, they cheer, and then they turn to the piper, ready to pay. Except, suddenly, the council has a change of heart. 1,000 gold pieces for a bit of pipe playing. It seems rather excessive now that the problem is gone. They offer him a paltry 50 pieces, claiming he's overcharging, that his work wasn't really that difficult. You watch, a chill creeping up your spine as the piper's colorful face hardens. He warns them, reminds them of their promise. But the council laughs him off, smug in their newfound rat-free comfort. Big mistake, council. Big mistake. The piper leaves the town square, but he doesn't leave Hamelin. A few days later, on a bright June morning, he returns. This time, his pipe plays a different tune, a melody that is sweet and captivating, like a lullaby mixed with the most enchanting promise you've ever heard. And just as before, the children of Hamelin emerge from their homes. All the children, from toddlers to teenagers, mesmerized, drawn by the irresistible music. They follow him, hand in hand, their faces alight with a strange, dreamy happiness, as he leads them out of the town and up into the mountains. They enter a cave, or perhaps a mountain tunnel, and then the music fades, the entrance seals, and they are never seen again. Not a single child is left in Hamelin, only the echoing silence of a town that learned, too late, the true cost of a broken promise. The tale of the Pied Piper is a stark reminder that some debts, especially those of the magical kind, always come due. Leaving the silent, childless streets of Hamelin, your path now leads you westward, tracing the winding, ancient flow of the Rhine River. Here, where the river carves deep valleys through steep hillsides, the air grows heavy with mist and the faint, sweet scent of peril. This is the domain of the Lorelei, not just a pretty name, but a powerful, ancient siren of German legend. Imagine the river, dark and glinting under a moody sky, its current swift and unpredictable. The cliffs rise sharply from the water, their dark faces scarred by centuries of wind and rain, their summits often lost in swirling clouds. It's a place of breathtaking beauty, yes, but also one that whispers of hidden dangers and forgotten sorrows. The Lorelei herself is often described as a beautiful maiden, her hair long and golden, her eyes sparkling like the river itself. She sits atop a towering, treacherous rock formation that juts out dramatically into the Rhine. This rock, named after her, is particularly dangerous, known for its strong currents and hidden reefs that have claimed countless boats and lives over the centuries. She is not merely a woman, but a spirit of the river, her beauty woven from the mist and the glittering spray of the water. You might find yourself staring at the rock, trying to discern her form in the shifting fog, perhaps even straining to hear her voice over the river's murmur. It's said her beauty is so captivating that once you see her, you cannot look away, drawn in by an invisible, powerful force. Her primary weapon, however, is not a sword or a net, but her voice. She sings a melody so enchanting, so impossibly beautiful, that it pierces the hearts of passing sailors and fishermen. It's a song woven with promises of love, dreams, and a peace that can only be found in the watery depths. The lyrics, if you could understand them, would speak of ancient joys and sorrows, of a world beyond mortal understanding, and of a longing so profound it echoes through the very soul. The song isn't aggressive, it's subtle, a gentle lullaby that slowly, inexorably, pulls you in. It wraps around your senses, blurring the line between reality and illusion, making you forget the churning waters and the jagged rocks just beneath the surface. It is a song of pure, irresistible temptation. Sailors, their eyes fixed on the Lorelei, their ears filled with her mesmerizing song, forget their duties. They neglect their rudders, lose control of their ships, and steer directly into the treacherous currents and hidden rocks at the base of her cliff. One by one, their vessels are shattered against the unforgiving stone, sending men and wood plunging into the cold, dark embrace of the Rhine. The river then claims them, adding their souls to the chorus of lost sailors, their stories becoming another part of the Lorelei's mournful song. It's a tragic cycle, repeated through generations, a testament to the power of beauty and temptation over caution and common sense. You might wonder why no one simply ties themselves to the mast like Odysseus. But then you realize the legend isn't just about a physical danger, it's about a spiritual one, a warning against surrendering to seductive illusions. She doesn't need to touch you, her voice is enough. The tale of the Lorelei is more than just a local ghost story. It's a powerful symbol deeply embedded in German culture. Poets have written about her, artists have painted her, and musicians have composed melodies inspired by her song. She represents the dangerous allure of the unknown, the seductive power of beauty, and the often fatal consequences of ignoring warnings. Even today, as modern riverboats navigate the Rhine, people still point to the Lorelei rock, and a quiet hush often falls over the passengers, a subconscious acknowledgement of the ancient legend that lingers in the air. You might scoff at such superstitions, but as the mist thickens around the ancient cliffs and the river's current tugs at your imagination, you find yourself scanning the waters just a little more carefully, half expecting to see a shimmering figure in the fog, or to hear a faint, beautiful melody carried on the wind, a song meant only for you. And then, you remember to remind yourself very sternly to just look away. Always look away. From the towering peaks of the giant mountains, your journey now turns north, away from the solitary grandeur of nature, and towards the bustling, muddy streets of a medieval town, specifically Bremen, a city renowned for its trading and, as you're about to discover, a most unusual musical ensemble. This isn't a tale of grand heroes or terrifying spirits, but rather a charming, humorous, and surprisingly enduring story of companionship and cleverness in the face of old age and redundancy. It's the kind of story that reminds you that sometimes the best way to deal with life's curveballs is to form a band. Imagine a rustic, rather dusty farm not far from the city walls. Here live 4 animals, each past their prime and facing a rather grim retirement plan. First, there's a donkey, his bray no longer as robust as it once was, his back aching from years of carrying sacks of grain to the mill. He overhears his master plotting to send him off to the glue factory, or some equally unsavory end, simply because he's too old to work. This donkey, however, has a spark of ingenuity left in him. He decides that instead of becoming glue, he will become a musician in Bremen. A sensible career pivot, if you ask me. As the donkey makes his way towards Bremen, he encounters a hunting dog, old and weary, whose barking skills are no longer up to snuff. His master plans to put him down, a common fate for loyal companions past their usefulness. The dog, sensing his doom, is distraught. The donkey, ever the optimist, suggests they travel to Bremen together. "I'm going to be a town musician," he says with a hopeful bray. "You can join me." The dog, having little else to lose, agrees, probably thinking, "Well, it beats chasing my tail into oblivion." Soon after, they come across a scrawny, aging cat, whose days of catching mice are long behind him. His mistress, fed up with his lack of predatory prowess, plans to drown him. The cat, a picture of feline despair, explains his predicament. The donkey, ever the recruiter, extends his invitation. "Come with us to Bremen. Your knack for night serenades will be perfect for our band." The cat, clearly not having much luck with his current gig, figures a musical career with a donkey and a dog can't be worse than a cold bath. So, the trio continues their journey, a rather motley crew of aged, discarded domestic animals. Their party isn't complete, however. High up on a gate, they spot a rooster, crowing his lungs out in utter desperation. He explains that his mistress plans to cook him for Sunday dinner, as his voice, once a proud wake-up call, is now considered too rusty. "Nonsense," cries the donkey. "Your voice is golden! Come with us to Bremen! We'll make music together!" The rooster, perhaps imagining a grand stage and a crowd of adoring fans, doesn't need much convincing. He flaps down and joins the odd quartet, ready to escape the pot and embrace the spotlight. As night falls, the 4 friends, tired and hungry, spot a light in the distance. It turns out to be a small cottage, brightly lit, and peeking through the window, they see a band of robbers enjoying a lavish feast. Naturally, the animals decide this is their big chance to perform. They stack themselves up, the donkey at the bottom, the dog on his back, the cat on the dog, and the rooster perched triumphantly atop the cat's head. Then, on the count of 3, they unleash their collective music. The donkey brays loudly, the dog barks fiercely, the cat meows mournfully, and the rooster crows with a piercing shriek. The cacophony is so terrifying, so utterly unnatural, that the robbers, convinced a monstrous beast or a vengeful spirit has arrived, flee into the woods in a panic, leaving their dinner behind. The animals, quite pleased with their impromptu concert, devour the feast and make themselves comfortable for the night. Later, one of the robbers, sent back to check on the cottage, mistakes the cat's glowing eyes for embers, the rooster's crow for a ghostly warning, and the donkey's kick for a monster's blow. Terrified, he convinces his comrades that the house is now haunted by fearsome creatures. And so, the Bremen town musicians never actually reach Bremen. They decide they rather like their new home, warm and free from danger, where they can practice their unique brand of music whenever they please. It's a classic tale of making the best of a bad situation, proving that even the oldest, most overlooked individuals can find new purpose, especially when they stick together and have a good strategy for dealing with unexpected houseguests. From the whimsical success of the Bremen town musicians, your journey through German folklore now leads you to a simpler, yet profoundly moralistic landscape, one centered around the ancient, often mysterious, figure of Frau Hall. Her realm is not of grand castles or dark forests, but of hearth and home, the changing seasons, and the quiet justice that dwells beneath the earth. Imagine a secluded, well-worn path leading to a deep, moss-covered well, its dark waters reflecting the sky. This is not just a source of water, it's a portal, a place where the ordinary world brushes up against the magical, and where character is tested by the unexpected. Frau Hall, sometimes known as Mother Hall or Old Mother Frost, is an ancient Germanic goddess or spirit, a figure of contradictions. She is often depicted as an old woman with white hair, sometimes appearing as a beautiful maiden, or even as a formidable matriarch. She is the keeper of the seasons, responsible for making it snow. When she shakes out her feather bed, the feathers fall as snow on the world below. She is also associated with spinning, weaving, and the fertility of the earth. She is kind to the diligent and good, but stern and punishing to the lazy and cruel, embodying the very essence of Germanic peasant morality. You might think of her as the ultimate housekeeper, except her domain extends from the clouds to the underworld, and her standards are rather strict. The tale of Frau Hall usually begins with two sisters, one kind, hardworking and beautiful, and the other lazy, unpleasant, and ugly. Of course, in these stories, the good one is always good, and the bad one is always bad, with no real room for personal growth until the very end. The kind sister lives a life of endless toil, often spinning wool until her fingers bleed. One day, while working by the well, her spindle falls into the deep water. Her stepmother, a woman with a heart as cold as a winter morning, forces her to retrieve it, no matter the cost. So, with no other choice, the girl leaps into the well. Instead of drowning, she finds herself in a magical realm, a beautiful, sun-drenched meadow where bread speaks and apple trees beg to be shaken. She encounters a speaking oven, crying, "Oh, pull me out, or I shall burn. I have been baked long enough." The kind girl, without hesitation, takes the bread out. Further on, she meets an apple tree laden with ripe fruit, pleading, "Oh, shake me, we apples are all ripe." Again, the girl, with a gentle spirit, shakes the tree until all the apples fall. Finally, she comes to a small, charming house, where an old woman with large teeth, but a kind smile, greets her. This is Frau Hall. Frau Hall offers the girl a place in her service, with one simple rule. She must diligently shake Frau Hall's feather bed every day, hard enough for the feathers to fly, because when they do, it snows in the world above. The kind girl works diligently, shaking the bed with all her might, making the snow fall beautifully. She is rewarded with kindness and good food. After a time, she feels a longing for home, for her family, even for her cruel stepmother. When she tells Frau Hall this, the old woman leads her to a great gate. As the girl passes through it, a shower of pure gold falls upon her, covering her from head to toe. She is not just rich, but radiant, a walking testament to her virtue. She returns home, to the astonishment of her family, literally glistening with her reward. Her lazy, unpleasant sister, seeing the golden bounty, immediately decides that this is the easiest way to get rich. She throws her own spindle into the well, jumps in, and finds herself in the same magical land. But when the talking oven cries for help, she says, "I have no desire to get dirty," and walks on. When the apple tree pleads for its apples to be shaken, she replies, "What?
You bother me! I'll not shake you!"
and continues her lazy stroll. Finally, she reaches Frau Hall's house and takes service, but she refuses to shake the feather bed properly, preferring to lounge about. Frau Hall, seeing her laziness and selfishness, soon dismisses her. As the lazy girl passes through the gate, instead of gold, a shower of pitch-black tar falls upon her, covering her entirely. She returns home, black and sticky, a permanent, smelly reminder of her idleness. And no matter how much she washes, the tar remains. The tale, therefore, serves as a clear moral lesson. Diligence and kindness are rewarded, while laziness and selfishness are quite literally stained by their own choices. It's a bit harsh, perhaps, but then, medieval life wasn't known for its subtle lessons. Leaving the domestic morality of Frau Hall behind, you are now drawn into the deeper, more unsettling shadows of German folklore, to a legend that speaks of ancient powers lurking just beyond the veil of human perception. This is the realm of the Erlking, a figure of ethereal beauty and profound danger, whose very presence chills the air and steals the breath from children. Imagine a twilight forest, where the last rays of sun struggle to pierce the dense canopy, casting long, shifting shadows that seem to wreathe with unseen life. The wind whispers through the branches, carrying a mournful, seductive hum that seems to call to you from the depths. This is not the gentle rustle of leaves, it's a song, a temptation, and a trap. The Erlking, or Erlknig, in German, is often depicted as a tall, shadowy figure with a crown, a long beard, and eyes that glow with an unsettling intensity. He is not a king in the mortal sense, but a spirit of the woods, an ancient, powerful entity associated with death and the natural world's more sinister aspects. He is said to appear to those who are lost or vulnerable, particularly children, luring them away with promises of gold, beautiful flowers, or enchanting games. His nature is inherently dual, outwardly charming and alluring, yet inwardly cold and predatory. He is a master of illusion, capable of appearing as different forms to different people, usually appearing most beautiful to the child he seeks to claim, and as a vague, shadowy figure to the accompanying adult. The most famous portrayal of the Erlking comes from the powerful poem by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, written in 1782, which has become a cornerstone of German literary and musical tradition. In this haunting ballad, a father rides through a dark, windy night, clutching his young son tightly in his arms. The child is shivering, not just from the cold, but from something he sees, something only he can perceive. The setting itself is a character in the story. The forest is dense, the wind howls, and the night is oppressive, setting a tone of urgent dread. The father tries to comfort his son, rationalizing the boy's fears, attempting to ground him in the concrete world. "My son, why do you hide your face so fearfully?" the father asks. But the son, terrified, cries out, "Father, do you not see the Erlking with his crown and train?" The Erlking speaks to the child, his voice soft and persuasive, promising wonderful games, colorful flowers, and a life of joy if the boy will only come with him. "You lovely child, come, go with me! Such pretty games I'll play with you. Many a brightly colored flower grows on the shore, and my mother has many a golden garment." The father, hearing only the wind in the leaves or the mist rising from the fields, dismisses the boy's words, explaining away the visions as natural phenomena. "My son, it is a streak of mist rising from the fields." The contrast between the child's clear, supernatural perception and the father's rational blindness is central to the horror of the tale. The Erlking's voice grows more insistent, more seductive, threatening force if persuasion fails. He offers his daughters ethereal beings who will dance with the boy and lull him to sleep. "My beautiful children shall attend you. My daughters will dance with you and rock you to sleep with their song." The child becomes more and more agitated, seeing the Erlking's growing power and the terrifying beauty of his daughters. He describes the Erlking reaching for him, touching him with cold, knowing hands. "Father, father."
He is touching me! The Erlking is hurting me!
He cries, his voice now filled with sheer terror. The father, desperately trying to reassure himself and his son, spurs his horse faster through the dark night, his heart pounding with a fear he cannot name but knows is real. In a desperate race against the unseen predator, the father rides as fast as his horse can carry him, clutching his son tighter and tighter. He finally reaches their destination, a warm, safe courtyard. But as he dismounts, he finds his son lifeless in his arms. The Erlking has claimed him. The poem concludes with a chilling finality, leaving you with the stark reality of the supernatural's victory over human frailty and disbelief. The tale of the Erlking serves as a powerful cautionary legend, particularly for parents. It's a reminder that not all dangers are visible, not all evils can be explained away by logic, and sometimes, even a father's love cannot protect a child from the ancient, cold forces that roam the world beyond the village lights. And as you feel the chill wind, you might just find yourself pulling your own blanket a little tighter, just in case the Erlking's song is meant for you. As the Erlking's haunting song fades from your mind, your journey continues through the shadowed history of German folklore, leading you now into the grand, often cold, stone walls of ancient castles and stately homes. Here, in the quiet, dusty corridors and forgotten chambers, dwells a different kind of spirit, the Weiss Frau, or White Lady. She is not a creature of the wild woods or the rushing rivers, but a spectre tied to lineage, betrayal, and the lingering sorrows of aristocratic pasts. Imagine the silence of a vast, empty hall, where tapestries hang heavy and dust motes dance in the slivers of weak sunlight filtering through tall, arched windows. A chill seems to settle around you, despite the lack of a breeze, and a faint, sweet scent, perhaps of old lace or dried flowers, drifts through the air. The White Lady is a pervasive figure throughout German and Central European folklore, appearing in numerous castles and noble estates, each with her own tragic story. She is almost universally depicted as a ghostly woman dressed in flowing white robes, her face often veiled or indistinct, and her presence marked by an inexplicable coldness or a faint, mournful sigh. Unlike the mischievous Gnomes or the predatory Erlking, the White Lady is typically a harbinger, a sign of impending doom or significant change for the noble families tied to her legend. She rarely speaks, and when she does, it is usually to deliver a cryptic warning or a sorrowful prophecy. You might think of her as a family alarm system, albeit a rather dramatic and unhelpful one, since her appearance usually means things are already quite bad. Her origins are often rooted in real historical figures or long, forgotten family tragedies. Common themes include a noblewoman who committed a terrible crime, like murdering her children, or who was herself betrayed and unjustly killed. For instance, one of the most famous White Ladies is associated with the House of Hohenzollern, appearing at their castles, including Berlin Palace and Plassenburg. This particular White Lady is often identified as Countess Agnes of Orlam, who, in the 14th century, supposedly killed her 2 children in a fit of despair or madness, mistakenly believing that their existence prevented her from marrying Albrecht the Handsome. The historical records are a bit fuzzy on the details, as they tend to be when children are involved in murderous plots, but the legend stuck, turning her into a restless spirit eternally bound to her terrible deed. She probably didn't have much luck with dating after that, either. The appearance of the White Lady is almost always linked to death or disaster within the noble family she haunts. If she appears in the castle, it often means a family member is about to die, a war is imminent, or a great misfortune will befall the household. Sometimes she appears just before a birth, particularly if that birth is destined to bring great sorrow or a cursed lineage. She's not there to cause the misfortune, mind you. She's merely the supernatural messenger, the ghostly equivalent of a telegram from fate. Her silent, mournful walk through the castle halls, or her appearance at a window, is enough to send shivers down the spines of even the bravest knights and most stoic servants. The nature of her haunting is typically passive yet profoundly unsettling. She glides rather than walks, sometimes disappearing into walls or fading into the mist. She doesn't rattle chains or throw objects like a common poltergeist. Her power lies in her mere presence, the sheer weight of her sorrow, and the dread she instills. Her white garments often symbolize purity, but in her case, they are more likely a representation of mourning, or perhaps the pale chill of death itself. The legends of the White Lady also highlight the rigid social structures of medieval Germany, where women of noble birth, despite their status, were often trapped by dynastic marriages and societal expectations, leading to hidden despair and, sometimes, horrifying acts. Her eternal wandering through the family seat serves as a perpetual reminder of their ancestors' sins or sorrows. As you stand in the echoing silence of these ancient stone buildings, a sudden draft might make you turn, half expecting to see a shimmering, pale figure drift past an archway, a silent warning from centuries past. And you realize, with a slight shiver, that some family histories are just too heavy to ever truly be at peace. From the spectral halls of haunted castles, your journey now guides you into the deep, mysterious heart of the Black Forest, or Schwarzwald, a place whose very name conjures images of ancient trees, shadowed valleys, and whispers carried on the wind. This isn't just a dense woodland. It is a landscape steeped in folklore, where the light struggles to pierce the thick canopy, and the air is perpetually cool and damp, even on the brightest days. The gnarled roots of ancient firs twist through the earth like sleeping serpents, and the silence is often broken only by the rustle of unseen creatures or the distant murmur of a hidden stream. It is here, within this primeval forest, that you might encounter the elusive and often mischievous gnomes, tiny beings with a complex and unpredictable nature. The gnomes of the Black Forest are typically described as small, elderly-looking figures with long, often white or grey beards, and wearing pointed red or green caps that blend seamlessly with the forest undergrowth. They are traditionally portrayed as earth dwellers, living deep within the forest soil, under tree roots or in hidden caves, often guarding precious minerals or ancient treasures. These aren't the garden ornaments you might see in modern yards. These are beings of genuine magical power, tied intrinsically to the land. They are known for their immense strength despite their small stature, capable of moving rocks or felling trees with surprising ease. It's like discovering that your neighbor's perpetually grumpy cat can actually lift a small car unexpected, and a little unnerving. Their nature, much like the forest itself, is one of duality. On one hand, they can be incredibly helpful to humans who show them respect, kindness, or diligence. Stories abound of gnomes aiding lost travelers, guiding miners to rich veins of silver or gold, or even helping hard-working farmers with their chores in the dead of night. They are known to finish tasks left undone by exhausted humans, leaving behind a neat, perfect job, and sometimes even a small, glittering gem as a reward. However, they are also fiercely protective of their domain and their privacy. Those who are greedy, destructive, or disrespectful towards the forest will quickly discover the gnome's darker, more mischievous side. They might mislead you with illusions, cause your tools to break, tangle your fishing lines into impossible knots, or simply fill your pockets with pebbles instead of promises. It's a classic case of treat others as you'd like to be treated, but with miniature, magical consequences. One common motif in Black Forest folklore involves gnomes appearing to woodcutters or charcoal burners. A gnome might offer assistance with a difficult task, like felling a massive tree, but only if the human acknowledges their presence and offers a small portion of their meal or a kind word. Those who ignore or disrespect the gnomes find their axes mysteriously dull, their woodpiles collapsing, or their fires refusing to light. Conversely, a polite and grateful woodcutter might wake to find his entire day's work completed, neatly stacked and perhaps a small, shiny pebble left on his axe handle. A silent thank you from the unseen helpers. It's enough to make you consider leaving out a tiny plate of biscuits and milk before you go to bed, just in case. The gnomes are also said to be keepers of ancient knowledge and secrets, privy to the earth's deepest mysteries. They know where hidden springs flow, where rare herbs grow, and where old, forgotten paths lead. Some legends even suggest they are skilled alchemists, capable of transforming common elements into precious ones, or of creating potent elixirs. But this knowledge is not easily shared, and certainly not with those who seek to exploit it. They are the guardians of the Black Forest's magic, ensuring that its ancient power remains balanced and respected. As you traverse the dappled sunlight and deep shadows of the Schwarzwald, listen closely to the rustle of the leaves and the murmur of the streams. You might not see them, but the gnomes are there, watching, judging, and quietly maintaining the ancient balance of their homeland, ready to reward the good and subtly inconvenience the rude. Stepping out of the ancient, whispering Black Forest, your journey through German folklore now leads you into a darker, more philosophical corner, one that grapples with the eternal human desires for ultimate knowledge and forbidden power. This is the enduring legend of Dr. Faustus, a tale that has captivated minds for centuries, speaking to the dangers of ambition and the seductive whispers of the demonic. Imagine a quiet, scholarly chamber bathed in the flickering light of candles, stacks of old books rising like ancient, dusty mountains around you. The air is thick with the scent of aged parchment and something else, a faint metallic tang that hints at forbidden experiments and pacts made in the deepest shadows of the night. Dr. Faustus, a learned scholar and magician, is the central figure of this grim legend. He is often depicted as a brilliant but restless man, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge that transcends human limits and a longing for pleasures that earthly life cannot provide. He has mastered all conventional sciences, theology, medicine, and philosophy, but finds them ultimately unsatisfying. He craves deeper understanding, a way to unlock the universe's true secrets, and perhaps a shortcut to earthly delights. This is not just intellectual curiosity. It is a profound discontent, a desperate yearning for something more, a desire so strong it borders on arrogance. He's the original knowledge at any cost guy, which, as it turns out, is a rather expensive motto to live by. Driven by this overwhelming desire, Faustus turns to dark magic. He summons a powerful demon named Mephistopheles, an agent of the devil, who appears to him, often in a deceptive, seemingly harmless form. Mephistopheles is cunning, charming, and utterly without mercy, offering Faustus exactly what he craves: 24 years of unlimited power, boundless knowledge, and every earthly pleasure imaginable. In exchange, Faustus must sign a contract in his own blood, selling his soul to the devil. It's the ultimate bad deal. A Faustian bargain in its purest form, where the fine print is literally written in eternal damnation. You might think this is an obvious trap, but when you're desperate for power, a few millennia in torment suddenly seem like a manageable long-term investment. Once the pact is sealed, Faustus embarks on a whirlwind of experiences. He gains supreme knowledge, understanding the secrets of the cosmos and the mysteries of life. He travels the world, witnessing wonders and performing incredible feats of magic, often for the amusement of powerful rulers. He tastes every pleasure, experiences every luxury, and satisfies every desire. He dines with emperors, summons ancient figures from the dead, and lives a life beyond mortal imagination. Yet a shadow always looms. Mephistopheles is a constant, sardonic companion, subtly reminding Faustus of the approaching deadline, often by conjuring illusions or displaying glimpses of the hellish fate that awaits him. The demon, of course, enjoys every moment of Faustus's fleeting joy, knowing the true price is yet to be paid. As the 24 years draw to a close, Faustus becomes increasingly terrified. He tries to repent, to break the contract, but it is too late. The devil holds his claim. On the final night, surrounded by his terrified friends, Faustus is dragged away to hell, his screams echoing into the darkness. The legend serves as a stark warning about the perils of ambition, the dangers of seeking power beyond human limits, and the ultimate futility of earthly pleasures when bought at the cost of one's soul. It's a fundamental tale about moral consequences, reminding you that while some things may seem like a good idea at the time, the bill eventually comes due, and the payment is rarely in gold. The story of Dr. Faustus has been adapted and reinterpreted countless times, from Christopher Marlowe's Elizabethan play to Goethe's epic poetic drama, each version adding new layers to the timeless struggle between good and evil, knowledge and damnation. And as you feel a cold draft in the candlelit chamber, you might find yourself checking under the table just in case a demon has been lurking nearby, waiting for an opportunity to offer you an irresistible, terrifying deal. Having faced the stern judgment of Knecht Ruprecht, your journey through German folklore now plunges into the terrifying, exhilarating chaos of the wild hunt, a phenomenon whispered about across northern and central Europe, but with a particularly vivid presence in the German imagination. This isn't a mere legend, it's a primal fear, a sudden, inexplicable shift in the night that makes the blood run cold and the heart pound like a drum. Imagine a deep, moonless night, the wind howling through the trees, not with its usual mournful sound, but with a strange, guttural shriek. The air grows heavy and cold, carrying the scent of damp earth, something metallic, and the undeniable aroma of 1,000 spectral hounds on the chase. You find yourself listening, straining to hear the faint jingle of bells or the distant baying that signals the coming storm. The wild hunt, or wild jagd, in German, is a supernatural procession that thunders through the night sky, usually during the darkest days of winter, particularly around Yuletide or the 12 days between Christmas and Epiphany. It is a terrifying cavalcade of ghostly hunters, spectral horses, and howling hounds, led by a fearsome, often unnamed figure. This leader varies across regions. Sometimes it's the ancient Germanic god Odin, sometimes a legendary figure like the wild huntsman, Perchta, or even a lost soul condemned to hunt forever. Regardless of the leader, the sight or sound of the wild hunt is a harbinger of war, plague, or major disaster, or simply a warning that someone in the region is about to die. It's like a ghostly parade of bad news, with no warning about when it might arrive and no way to send a polite, "Not interested," response. The sounds of the wild hunt are as distinctive as its chilling appearance. You hear the furious gallop of unseen horses, the baying of countless hounds, the cracking of whips, the shouts of the hunters, and sometimes mournful cries or triumphant horns. The air itself seems to vibrate with their passage, and those who hear it often describe a profound sense of dread, a feeling of being utterly helpless before a primal, unstoppable force. People would bar their doors and windows, extinguish all lights, and pray for the procession to pass them by without notice. You might be tempted to peek through a crack in the shutters, but then you remember the warnings. Those who witness the wild hunt are said to be dragged into its ranks, or left insane, or struck dead on the spot. It's definitely not the kind of show you want a front row seat for. The folklore surrounding the wild hunt is steeped in ancient Germanic beliefs about the spirit world and the cycles of nature. It often represents the untamed, chaotic forces of winter, or the restless spirits of the dead. In some versions, the hunters are lost souls or those who died violent deaths, condemned to ride eternally. In others, they are pagan deities or their followers, still asserting their power in a world increasingly dominated by Christianity. The belief in the wild hunt served as a powerful cautionary tale, encouraging people to stay indoors during the darkest nights, to live piously, and to show respect for the unseen powers that govern their world. It was a clear, vivid explanation for sudden, inexplicable natural disasters or mass deaths. The hunt had passed and taken its toll. There are also local variations and specific rules. In some tales, leaving food or drink outside for the wild hunt could appease them and ensure your safety. In others, anyone caught outside during its passage was doomed. Sometimes, if you accidentally called out to the hunt, you would be forced to join it. It's the kind of lore that makes you incredibly careful about what you yell into the night, even if it's just at a particularly loud squirrel. The wild hunt remains a compelling part of German folklore, a potent image of primal power and unavoidable fate. Even today, on a truly dark and stormy night, as the wind howls around your home, you might just find yourself listening a little more closely to the sounds outside, half expecting to hear the distant baying of spectral hounds, or the thundering hooves of unseen horses, reminding you that some legends never truly die. They simply wait for the darkest nights to ride again. From the terrifying gallop of the wild hunt, your journey through German folklore now shifts to a more ethereal, yet equally perilous realm, the watery depths of rivers, lakes, and hidden springs, where the beautiful but dangerous Nixies, or Nixen, hold sway. These aren't just pretty mermaids, they are ancient water spirits with unpredictable temperaments and a notorious habit of luring mortals to their doom. Imagine standing by the bank of a swift, dark river, the mist swirling just above the surface, and a strange, almost musical shimmer seems to dance on the water. The air is cool and damp, carrying the scent of fresh water and something indefinably alluring, yet chilling, like a beautiful song played just slightly off-key. Nixies, or Nixen, are a broad category of water spirits found throughout Germanic mythology and folklore. While they often appear as stunningly beautiful humanoids, their true nature is decidedly otherworldly and dangerous. They are shape-shifters, capable of appearing as humans, fish-tailed beings like mermaids, or even as animals, typically horses or swans. Their beauty is legendary. They possess captivating voices, often singing enchanting melodies, and their skin often shimmers with the wet gleam of the water itself. You might think about taking a swim, but then you remember the countless tales of those who ventured too close and never returned. It's like being invited to a party by someone incredibly charming, but you know deep down they have a secret passion for collecting drowned bodies. These water spirits are particularly known for their irresistible singing and enchanting music, played on harps or other instruments. Their melodies are said to be so mesmerizing that they compel anyone who hears them to draw closer to the water, where they are then dragged down to a watery grave. This isn't an aggressive attack, it's a slow, seductive lure, a gentle pull into the cold embrace of the depths. The Nixie might extend a hand, her eyes sparkling with an ancient, knowing light, and offer a glimpse of an underwater world of unimaginable beauty and peace. But that peace, of course, comes at the cost of your very breath and your mortal life. Once you enter their domain, escape is almost impossible. While often malevolent or indifferent to human life, Nixies are not always purely evil. Some legends portray them as capable of great love and even marriage with mortals, though these unions almost always end tragically, often with the human partner drowning or the Nixie returning morphally to the water. They are also known for possessing prophetic abilities, sometimes warning fishermen of impending storms or revealing hidden treasures beneath the waves. But these acts of kindness are rare and usually come with a hidden cost or an expectation of strict adherence to unspoken rules. It's a bit like getting a free vacation from a dubious travel agency. It sounds great, but you just know there's a lifetime subscription to existential dread hidden in the fine print. The legends of Nixies served as cautionary tales, particularly for children and young lovers, warning them away from dangerous bodies of water. The mysterious drownings that sometimes occurred in rivers and lakes, easily explained by strong currents or cold depths, were attributed to the mischievous or malicious actions of these water spirits. This provided a supernatural explanation for tragic events, giving a face and a motive to the unseen dangers of nature. It also reinforced the importance of respecting the power of water, of understanding its unpredictable nature, and of knowing when to keep a safe distance. As you gaze into the shimmering, dark waters of a German river, you might just catch a glimpse of a faint reflection, or hear a whisper carried on the breeze that sounds almost like a song, reminding you that not all beauty is safe, and some invitations are best declined. especially when they lead directly to the deepest, coldest parts of the water. As the echoes of the Nixies siren songs fade from the ancient waters, your immersive journey through the rich, often unsettling, and always captivating world of German folklore draws to a close. You have wandered through shadowed forests, climbed mist-shrouded mountains, navigated the dark currents of ancient rivers, and peered into the deep wells of forgotten magic. What remains now is to reflect on the enduring legacy of these tales, and how they continue to whisper through the fabric of culture and storytelling even today. The enduring power of German folklore lies in its ability to tap into universal human truths, transcending time and geographical boundaries. The anxieties surrounding untamed nature, personified by the unpredictable Ru Bizarre or the predatory Erlking, speak to our primal instincts and our ongoing struggle to understand and coexist with forces larger than ourselves. The cautionary tales, like that of the Pied Piper, serve as timeless reminders of the consequences of broken promises and the dangers of greed, echoing through generations as a stark moral compass. These stories, while rooted in a specific cultural landscape, resonate because they mirror challenges and temptations that are inherently human, regardless of the century you find yourself in. Consider the depth and complexity of these narratives. They are rarely simple good versus evil dramas. Instead, they often present nuanced characters and situations, challenging listeners to ponder the gray areas of morality and fate. The White Lady, for example, is not inherently malicious, but a tragic figure, a spectral messenger of impending doom linked to the inescapable weight of history and lineage. Even the seemingly benevolent gnomes of the Black Forest possess a mischievous streak, demanding respect and balance from those who venture into their domain. This intricate layering adds a psychological depth to the folklore, inviting reflection rather than just passive consumption. It's like a particularly complex board game, where every move has multiple consequences, and the rules are sometimes just a little bit mystical. The influence of German folklore extends far beyond the direct retelling of its narratives. It has seeped into the collective unconscious, shaping archetypes and inspiring countless works of art across various mediums. Opera, classical music, and even modern fantasy literature owe a debt to these foundational tales. The dramatic narratives, the strong imagery, and the powerful emotional currents found in these legends have provided fertile ground for creative minds throughout history. You can see echoes of the Erlking in various sinister supernatural figures, or the spectral wild hunt in countless tales of ghostly cavalry. It's almost as if these figures are so potent, they simply refuse to stay confined to their original stories, leaping across centuries and continents to find new forms and new audiences. In essence, German folklore offers a window into a past where the world was seen as an enchanted, often perilous place, teeming with unseen beings and ancient forces. It reminds us that humanity has always sought to make sense of the inexplicable, to imbue the natural world with meaning, and to transmit wisdom through compelling narratives. These stories, whether whispered around a hearth on a cold winter's night, or sung in a grand opera hall, continue to hold power because they speak to the very core of what it means to be human, to fear, to hope, to err, to learn, and to strive for a kind of enduring wisdom in a world that is always changing. And as you step back from this rich tapestry of legends, you carry with you not just the stories, but a deeper appreciation for the ancient wisdom they contain. The whispers of the old world are still there, if you just know how to listen.